It is Tyson Griffin joining me here on the program. Tyson, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's good to talk to you. And of course, you've had a very decorated career. And tomorrow, I don't know if you know this, it'll be 4 years since you last stepped in the cage. I was doing the math on this one. You last fought at World Series of Fighting 10 against Luis Farimo, who's actually fighting this weekend, tomorrow, I should say. What have you been up to since retirement, or semi-retirement, I should say? Because a lot of people, I'm sure, are wondering what you've been doing these last couple of years.
I've just, been doing what I've been doing my whole life, man. Just constantly pushing myself and challenging myself to grow as a human being, as an athlete, and just all around life. So when I got injured and had my nerve damage, I kind of had to figure out what the next step was. I was down at AKA, got to have the opportunity to work with Daniel Cormier and help him come down from heavyweight to light heavyweight, helped him win the championship, and I also ended up opening up a gym with my older brother and a childhood friend around the same time, and I had to make a big decision whether I try to, be on the road and living out of suitcases or whatever with Daniel, and being on call and me having to leave my gym, or just kind of back away from that and just focus on the gym. So I've just been focusing on the gym. I coached a couple of fighters. I had a world champion. I had an amateur champion. Life happens the way it does. The fight game is the way it is. It's hard to make money. Not everyone stayed as committed, and my direction was like, what do I do? And I just, again, kept training, pushing myself. My body slowly came back, and I just, man, I don't know, people that I know aren't here on this earth anymore. Some of those people in the MMA community, Kevin Randleman and Kimbo Slice and things like that. It's like, if I'm still here and I'm healthy, I want to keep pushing and keep trying to come back. There's no reason not to. So I don't have screws and pins in me everywhere. Like some of the guys I know, I was talking to Mark Coleman one time, who was like, man, I got a new hip, man. Get after it. Stop being a pussy. It's like, so there's a balance there. But yeah, it's awesome that my body's coming back. I'm going to be fighting again August 4th. Like you said, it's been 4 years. And it's kind of a dream to actually think about it. Sometimes when I'm training now, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm actually going to have this back. This is crazy. Like, it's kind of surreal.
That's awesome, man. A lot to unpack there, obviously, with what you just said about coming out of retirement. I think that's very cool. I know a big part of what you've been doing the last couple of years is, changing your recovery. A lot of times when fighters have the career that you do, just with, your career even before the UFC, you had a lot of, things going on. Recovery is a big part of it. So what is your recovery these days? What are some of the things that you use to sort of keep the body going and functioning at your age?
Yeah, when I had my nerve damage and trying to figure out how to come back, as an American, as a wrestler, as a whatever you want to call it, I just thought that working hard was the way to go, and I found out the hard way that wasn't the way. And trying to use my body's natural healing process and just work with it instead of trying to fight against it. And I had a lot of people would suggest steroids and all kinds of other stuff that. Technically, I'm sure you can have the argument it's natural, but growing up the way I did, I always want to challenge myself to do it naturally and not use those things that don't have certain side effects long term. So, cannabis and CBD may have some, short-term side effects that are very comfortable that I can deal with, and I'm okay with that. And that's where I feel my sort of healing process really came full circle, was that I've been using cannabis a lot my whole life. The diet, nutrition stuff, I really wasn't on point with. And then through helping Daniel and then my injury, I dialed everything in with diet, nutrition, like super organic stuff, lots of vegetables. Man, if I'm going to eat meat, I got to eat super high quality meat. And then on top of that, adding the CBD, which unfortunately I notice a lot of the commercial stuff out there is really low in concentration with the CBD. And it's cool to get people on board with CBD and get a little bit in their system. But for someone like me, with all the nerve damage I had and the amount of inflammation I was dealing with, I noticed that I needed the heavier doses. And man, it started becoming more expensive. I was like, holy fuck, I'm going to have to teach so many goddamn privates every week. And I was trying to figure out how to coach these guys for free that maybe couldn't afford it, and how to support myself, and then also get my recovery. It was kind of mind-boggling. So it's all come full circle, I guess. And now being able to compete and have companies like the Terphouse sponsor me and get super quality products to help my recovery man, it's been amazing. So
how did you link up with the Terphouse, and how long have you had this relationship with them?
It's been actually very short. This is only a couple of months now that I've had a relationship with Brandon and Terphouse, and it came through Matt. I actually never met any of these guys face to face. I guess there is a good side of social media,
Hmm.
and through some posts on social media, and finally not judging myself and posting some cannabis pictures and things like that. I got to link up through Terphouse, and through a couple quick text messages or DMs through Instagram, I realized that they were kind of on the same mindset I was, and that it seemed like the right place to be. And unfortunately, with cannabis being so popular business-wise now, I mean I know personally a lot of people in the cannabis industry that maybe aren't there for the medicine and they're there for the money, and you can be about both, but it's just hard for me to deal with people that are just focused on money these days, and that's not what I'm about anymore. And I learned that the hard way. I made it to the UFC. I didn't grow up with much, but I made it to the UFC and had a bunch of money, and that shit don't make you happy. So, I'm trying to figure out how to, heal. And, we're in a state of constantly breaking ourselves down, and figuring out how to be in a constant state of healing is kind of my goal.
And what are the benefits you feel with CBD? You mentioned obviously you've had the nerve damage and everything. I imagine that's taking care of that. But I know a lot of fighters talk about sleep. It helps them sleep a little bit better. I know a lot of fighters, when they're sparring, they don't get those headaches. What have you found as far as the benefits?
I've definitely noticed huge benefits with anti-inflammation and just lowering my overall anxiety.
Yeah.
I've had a pretty interesting life. My first memory wasn't exactly the typical memory. I know a lot of other people have had way worse memories, but also outside of that, I've almost died a couple of times when I was younger. I've had a bunch of childhood surgeries, and then once I learned a bunch about the psyche, I didn't realize it, but I had basically PTSD, and of course because didn't go to the war, people don't want to hear about it, but yeah, like I didn't realize it, but I had all this sort of trauma that was built up in my psyche through a bunch of research. Kind of on a martial arts is very enlightening. You learn a lot about yourself, and that's kind of the path that I want to continue, whether I was competing or not. So looking into my psyche and figuring out, man, like, how did I even get good at fighting, and why did I like to fight? And it's not that I like to fight, I just, something was driving me, and that drive is in that anxiety that we don't really know. Like, a lot of fighters don't even know where they get it from. Some do, some people do. They absolutely do. They're like, oh yeah, I'm fucking crazy. I know exactly why. This is exactly why. And so understanding why and then addressing it are two different things. And so I've noticed that the CBD has really helped with some of that anxiety or that PTSD, where you may have some of those triggers that you used to have and used to get really triggered on, like whether it's in the fight gym, whether it's in the streets, social anxiety, whatever it may be. I notice some of those triggers aren't there as much. So like I'll notice something and be like, fuck, usually that bothers me.
Right.
And there's a weird like sort of pause where I think that's the CBD that protects those neurons and doesn't have you sort of reacting as much. Those receptors are sort of coded, and they can take the information in a little bit better. And yeah, that's actually what I've noticed. So I've got another client or student, if you will, that's at my gym. She's been dealing with addiction, all that stuff, and PTSD, and she's noticed it helped her too.
That's awesome to hear. I love hearing stories like that, and love hear that you're seeing the benefits out of it. Now, we've talked a lot about obviously your fight career and things like that. So you mentioned your gym. Who are you training with right now? Who's helping you get ready for this fight in August?
Right now, the number one person helping me get ready for my fight is me.
Okay.
I've been really focused on listening to my body. I've had, unfortunately, experienced a lot of different coaches at the highest level, but they don't always understand MMA. One of my my best coach was Endo Sanchez. My whole career, he's working with Daniel Cormier now. Like, he used to always say, if I didn't see it, it didn't happen. And that's what got me to overtrain all the time, was trying to make other people happy. So I've been trying to focus on me, listening to my body. I've been training at my gym in Albany at Performance Fitness and MMA, and I've got a couple amateur fighters there. Jaime Moore, that's been training and pushing me. I've been working with Ramon Matthews out at Guardian Gym. He's a boxing coach, and he's got really good pad work, so he's been pushing me on the pad work there. So I'm really just pushing my body physically with, athleticism, recovery, and not necessarily focusing on training with other partners. And it's something that I witnessed Vitor Belfort do, when he was at Extreme Couture. I kind of, inside of it, I was like judging him a little bit, like, man, why isn't this guy fucking sparring with everybody and getting after it? Like, I don't understand why he's not training like everybody else trains. Like, and now I get it. Like, So, some days I'm like, man, you know what? I'm not going to go to jiu-jitsu because my spine does not want to get compressed right now. So, I'll do bag work instead, or I'll drill. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's been an interesting ride so far. I plan on going down to AKA here because I'm in the East Bay, and I've got a good relationship with them. So I'm kind of getting my body in shape to be able to even handle that kind of
Right.
training. Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that you have to get in shape to even be able to train for a fight. Like these young kids or whatever, they think they just want to go train. They don't understand it. Like if you don't have a lifelong athletic career like I did, you're not going to have a base that can handle the workload of an MMA camp. Like it's not going to be fun. Your body's not going to be happy. So just trying to get my conditioning up and get ready to train with the big boys. And yeah, so I'm going to probably spend only a couple weeks maybe training hard at AKA and just for a little bit of a test because I don't want to leave the fight in the gym. And I think that's what I did over the years.
Why come out of retirement? What is just the competitive nature in you still wants to do this, or what's the main reason for coming back?
Um, Coming back out of retirement, there's multiple reasons. I didn't have the same awareness, about myself and about just, the world that I did now when I was fighting then. I guess I was sort of maybe running away from my problems or whatever, or just sort of like, using MMA as sort of therapy back then. And now that I'm aware of it all, I kind of I want to take another run at it in a new perspective. And then now that I have a gym here, I want to also show that, hey, it's not about like being perfect. It's not about like how long it takes to get there. Like if it doesn't matter, just keep working. Like you can get injured, take 3 years off, whatever, come back. Like whatever your dreams and goals are, just keep working towards them and they're going to happen. And yeah, so I think it's just the bigger picture. And like at the end of the day, like growing up the way I did, my mom and dad were in jail growing up, and my dad was in jail my whole life. I just recently met him and tried to build a little bit of a relationship with him. But when I was younger, like I refused to be called by his name. Like my middle name is Lee, and that's what his name was. My mom used to call me that when she was mad at me, Tyson Lee Griffin, and I would get so pissed off. Like, and now I'm like actually accepting it, and I'm okay with all of it, and just like I wanted to when I was younger make sure that whatever I did, my last name and my legacy was left in a different light. So I've always lived my life in a way that I don't want it to go down that path that that he did, like, to be honest. So that's kind of like it's like a gift and a curse, you know what I'm saying? It kind of keeps me scared to stay on that right path and stay leading by example and stay making sure that, because I know there's a lot of people out there watching, believe it or not, I didn't like it growing, like in the fight game early on, I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't want fans. Like, I don't do this for fans. I do this for me. Like, and then I realized people were watching. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I gotta set a good example. Like I can't just be a piece of shit. Like,
Right.
like I don't care if I ever get the belt. Like I learned that from guys like Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture, man. It's about being a great champion. Like don't just be a champion. Don't be a John Jones. Like be a great champion. Be a guy like Daniel Cormier. Like who cares if you lose the belt and get it back? Like like wear your heart in your sleeve and take care of people. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I've learned from guys like DC. Like as much of a shit talker as he is and he loves to fucking, hype things up, he's a human and we got to be human. So
I like that.
I'm coming back.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you who you fighting, what promotion? We got to know where can we hear about this fight and everything.
I'm fighting at the Cranley Pavilion in Richmond, California for URCC, Ultimate Reality Combat Championship. They're based out of the Philippines, but they also have a local USA promotion and show. And it'll be August 4th versus Jordan Bailey. I don't know that much about him, except I know he likes jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, it's going to be a interesting fight. And, yeah, I'm just looking forward to testing myself, looking forward to healing and growing and seeing how far this whole healing process can take me and then what other doors open.
I love it, man. Well, I think it's awesome, Tyson, and I'm so glad to hear you're, really found a good way here, and I'm glad the CBD oil and everything else is working out well for you, man. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you have any sponsors or anything you got going on you want to plug, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, you can find me on all my social media at Tyson Griffin, and that's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that, and also my gym at PF MMA on Instagram. Performance Fitness MMA on Facebook and pfmma.com on the internet. So if you're in the Richmond, California area, come by, check us out. We're in Albany, California. Sorry about that. And then my fight will be in Richmond, California. So come by, check out the fight August 4th, or check out the gym in Albany.